Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
The Roses were living the dream.
To you, my darling.
No, to you.
Until it all came crashing down.
You got fired.
Fired?
On August 29th, stop.
You stop!
And see The Roses. Rated R. In theaters everywhere, August 29th.
Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero, and you're listening to the Tour Coach Podcast. These are a collection of conversations, roundtable discussions, interviews with friends, people I meet, people I teach, folks that come to see us, people that I teach with, respect and admire, all from around the world of golf. If you're a golf nut, a golf junkie, you love golf instruction, or maybe you just want a little entertainment, you're in the right place. We've got over 200 conversations out there available for you now on the Tour Coach, and I'm excited as we head into 2024. Our goal is to bring you more content each and every week and help all of you enjoy and play the game of golf better. Special thanks to my sponsors that have all been with me for such a long time. Thanks to McConnell Automotive, Mitch McConnell and the folks at McConnell Automotive, and the folks at Bushnell Golf. Couldn't do any of it, especially pro work, without them. Vineyard Vines, keeping us looking good and always taking care of us at all the retreats. And, of course, Shrixon and Cleveland Golf and the folks there, whether it's Chip Holcomb, Eddie Dry, Mason Prang, Noel Zavada, Roddy McDonald, all of them, everybody that has been part of our journey with Shrixon Cleveland Golf for over 23 years, I believe it is now. So, and also want to welcome one of the new sponsors to the Dew Sweepers and the Tour Coach Podcast, and that would be Visor Skincare and our folks, the Franklins, who are been Dew Sweepers and fans of us for a long time, and it is by far the best skincare and sunscreen out there. So make sure you check them out as well. And hope you enjoy this season of the Tour Coach and what we've got going on. We're looking forward to bringing you some great stuff, and enjoy this conversation here on the Tour Coach. All right, so joining me here on the Tour Coach is somebody I've been wanting to get on for a while. He's always one of the better people to run into and chat with whenever I'm out on the road and run into him. Golf Magazine Top 100 teacher, new this year, but he's been a great teacher, great dude, great player for a long time from down at Admiral's Cove, another pretty cool place to hang out down there in Palm Beach. I'm waiting for my invite, though. I mean, I don't get invited to the nice places. He doesn't like other Italians. Mike Milazia. Maliz, what is up, brother?
How you doing, man? Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's, no, everything is good, and it's pretty cool hanging out down there in Palm Beach. I know you got a special place, and man, y'all just built a heck of a. You've shown me all the pictures, and I've heard from people the Learning Center, Performance Center y'all built's pretty special, pretty cool. Yeah,
it is. It turned out great. The members are going nuts using it. They love it, and it's just. It's just such a great spot. It's great to, be a part of such a great club like Admirals. And then the fact that you're down there and being able to create this beautiful performance center and design it the way that is the best for them to get better is just such a great opportunity and a treat to be there.
And not only that, kudos to them, because I've been part of a couple, building performance centers, and they've turned out great. But kudos to them for letting you design it and them understanding that you had the vision and because not all clubs and all people are like that. I mean, we're not trying to get other, clubs mad or whatever, but that's the fact of it, right? Not everybody, understands that you're the director. You know what it needs to be. And when they let you do it, and it's turned out awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was they looked to me. We called in the right people,
right?
And it was kind of okay. What do you need? Mm-hmm. What do you see? Where do we go with this? So it was just awesome.
Well,
really good.
Talk about your journey. We have tons. Obviously, somebody driving around listening to you and I is a golf nerd or they've got nothing better to do, right? And a lot of young golf teachers listen to this as well, and golf nerds. But I always like to pick people's brain on their journey, like what got you to where you are? Like, how did all this start for you, Maliz?
It's funny. It really is. So, I mean, I always tell people, they said, well, how'd you get into golf? I said, well, my dad was a club pro, so I didn't really have an option. But my dad was a decent player. Actually coached a guy on tour for a while. This was back a long time ago. Wayne Levy, worked with him for a while. Wayne's won a bunch of times out there. Then I'm the youngest by the youngest of 6 by 11 years. So my dad actually got out of the business as I was growing up and moved to South Florida and opened up a restaurant. So he got in the restaurant business, but we all played, and that's kind of how I got introduced to it. So I started playing when I was 5. I started competing nationally when I was 9 and did pretty good as a junior and through the ranks. And, just wanted to play and try to get out there. So I turned pro early. I turned pro at 19. I played my first PGA Tour event. I Monday qualified for Doral back in the day when you could Monday qualify for it. And, as a young kid out there, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and go out, and it's funny how things happen. And my dad being such a big part of the golfer that I've become, person I've become. But I go out the first day and shoot 76, and just talking to him at dinner that night, he's like, hey man, just go out tomorrow and have fun. Chances are doesn't matter, but you just enjoy your first event, because you're always going to remember your first event. Mm-hmm. So I go out the second day and shoot 66, end up making the cut. But, and that's kind of where it all started. So I went to tour school a couple times, bounced around on mini tours, played everywhere. I always made the joke. I think I've played every tour except the ladies.
And you would, if you would, they might let you now, Malizia.
Well, yeah, no, you're not kidding. So let's see. Now I'm 24, and I go to Q school. I'm at finals, I'm tied for 6th place going into the last day. That's when they took 50, I believe.
Okay. And
so I go out the last day, shoot 76, end up missing my card by a shot. That was my first full year on the Nike Tour. So kind of from there, I was, played a bunch of tour events. My last event was I played the Open in 2000 at Pebble.
Wow.
And then, just kind of popped around and was to the point where I don't want to do this anymore, because, I look back at it now being an instructor, and I was the worst student in the world. Not meaning that I wouldn't listen, is that I was so intrigued by why and how things happened and what they do. So I remember with Mike Adams and David Ledbetter, and I was so fortunate to have worked with these guys that, we're going to change this and work on that. See you next week. Now I would go home and I would compile, back then you had the VHS tapes, of all the swings I could find from tour events, and come back and go the next week, okay, well, why do you want me here when he can do it? How can he do it? So, I drove them nuts, but that in being intrigued on that, I think, is really what helped me become a decent coach. And, it's not good for players, because I was just fascinated on everything of why.
Right.
I don't care if it was right or wrong. I just wanted to know why. So after I got through playing, I was, believe it or not, I'm 30 years old, and what am I going to do? I've done one thing, man. I've played golf. It's been my life. I'm not going in the restaurant business. That's just not me. So I had a couple buddies at the time. I had one who, 2 of them actually really good players, but they were both in the Secret Service, and that was an option, and one that I was kind of really jacked up about. But from where I had to start, I'd have to do 2 years as a uniformed officer in D.C.
Oh, wow.
And so that's not going to happen. So then I had another buddy who was in real estate, and he was killing it. Another buddy who was in insurance. So I had options, and then one of my best friends, who was the director of golf at this place, you know, and the more people I started talking to, like Adams and Led, were like, you got to teach. You got to teach. You were good at it because of how intrigued you were and thing. And I was like, dude, I just got out of golf. I don't want to go back into golf. And plus, I've only, you know, the people that I helped, because along the way, you know, I helped a lot of guys out on tour, but it was more, you know, we're both struggling on the range.
Yeah.
You know, and you just start talking, and what are you working with your teacher? Well, I'm doing this. Oh, you know, and I'm not really understanding. Well, you know, I kind of always was able to help them kind of decipher what the coach was saying in a certain way, and never really saw it, you know. And when those guys started saying, hey, you got to do this, I said, I don't know. So my buddy said, hey, man, give me 6 months. Just try it. And then, you know, we'll figure out what your journey needs to be. So I went 6 months. I was like, shit, this is easy helping the average player. I mean, tour players are hard to help, as you know, because, you know, it's not just what you say, it's what you better not say. And it's also, you know, because you can get them going sideways if you say too much, and it's only helping them, you know, save that 1 to 2 shots, you know, out there. Oh,
yeah, for sure.
But with amateurs, it's like, shit, I could take 10 shots off this guy's game just by managing and, you know, teaching him a little bit of how to manage his swing. So I was, you know, it was what I was really meant to do. Didn't know it at the time. But that's always been my passion. So I was at that previous place that I was at. I was there for 17 years. And then a couple years ago, Admirals had reached out and said, hey, we don't have a director of instruction. We want to put in this big performance center, and you teach a lot of the members here, and I think it would be a great fit. And so that's kind of how it happened.
That's awesome. That's a heck of a story.
Yeah.
You know, you know, I totally get the whole, like, you're trying to find the why, right? You know, mm-hmm. And again, I told somebody the other day that I think the best tour players are either geniuses or they're stupid.
Amen.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know that the middle guys, or I mean, I think like the highly intelligent, you know, or just, you know, way above average intelligent, plenty smart. Like, I think it's harder, right? Because I think sometimes they get so lost in trying to figure things out.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be so next level intelligent that you realize that you have to just go brain dead,
mm-hmm.
or you're just brain dead. It's one of the two.
Right.
You know,
right.
When you're in that middle ground, it's really tough.
So it's
really tough.
You take what you learn from playing professionally, and the great players, obviously, you're around week in, week out, and then now you've been teaching 20 years. Or more, mm-hmm. and you look at it like how different is it 20 years down the road than it would be when you started, and like how different is what you're teaching on the tee now versus what you did when you started 20 years ago?
Yeah, and I mean it's so different because I've worked with, you know, when I got into the teaching thing, it was funny because so I leave playing to go into teaching, and now, you know, most of the people, you know, knew me as a player,
right.
not as a teacher. So mm-hmm. the majority of the players I started working with were tour players, competitive amateurs, and the junior programs. You know, I did the members, but I would say the majority of my clientele were the tour players and better players. Mm-hmm. Because at the time I could relate. Right. To them, not only physically, but mentally, what they were going through and what it takes and all the great things that I've been lucky to be a part of with learning from tour players. And, you know, as I got more so into teaching the average golfer now, and I kind of have, you know, a little bit of both. It's completely different. your approach is completely different than working with a tour player. I think when you look at, how I was taught back in the day, the thing is back when I was playing, it was before the force plates.
Right.
It was before the TrackMan wasn't. So a lot of the information we just didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think that's the stuff that's made it harder to teach. You talked about it being harder to teach, in some ways tour players is like there's so much information. I think the secret to teaching really good players is knowing what not to give them when.
That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's the hard part.
Yeah, and I've heard you say this before, and I agree 100%. That saying, why guess when you can measure? Well, listen, we're all guessing.
Right.
We're guessing on a certain extent. You go to a doctor, he's giving you an educated guess. If it was all perfect, everything would be fixed and it would be done. So the guess is not a guess of not understanding. The guess is, I have multiple ways to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which one am I going to use? And you don't know. That's going to be based on how the person's perspective is. That's going to be on how their golf IQ is. That's going to be on how they've associated and what their belief systems are.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're not guessing. We're guessing which option we're going to use to try to find. It's no different than a doctor. But yeah, I think it's totally different when you're working with the average club golfer. What percentage of them are going to change,
right?
And then what percentage of them really want to do the work to change? And then my final thing is, I don't know that they need to change, because when I work with the average club golfer, they might hit a shot that it's a pull cut where it starts 15 yards left of the target and cuts back, and I'll look at them and say, well, how'd you like that shot? And they go, yeah, that was good there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, so then I don't really need to rebuild your swing. I need to have you have a better understanding of why your swing works or it doesn't work. So it's being able to work with what they have, as opposed to where a tour player is going to put in the work to make that change.
Yeah, I like that, because obviously I teach guys and girls that are great players, and and then I teach tons of just folks that come see me because they love golf and they want to get better or whatever. Some of them just come because they like to hang out, I think. But that whole where everybody got into shallowing, right? And I would see these teachers on Instagram, right? And I'd see I'd see a guy that's always posting about it, and I'd be like, man, I've got some people, man, that we've gotten way better, and they're steep as shit. Right?
Yeah.
But they got where they can hit it solid and cut it every time. And then we taught them how to become better chippers and pitchers, and how to, that's what I thought was great about what you said is it's looking at the guy in front of you and saying, hey, is this guy going to go to Joey D's or go to the gym and do enough to where he can turn into it? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, well, and the reason I say that is because I said, listen, I got to the highest level and I know what it takes to make a change.
Yeah.
And you can't, these people are, I had a great example is when I'm teaching, I always use the scenario of, listen, when we're making your golf swings different, it's no different than building a house. First thing I have to do is get a solid foundation. Then I have to let that cure before I even think about putting the walls up. Then after I put the walls, I put the trusses in the roof. So I had a guy today, he came to me and, he said to me, he says, well, I saw this thing on Instagram. I'm like, shit. There we go. He goes, and I never really realized that I need to hit the inside of the ball. He goes, I hit kind of this pull cut. What's your handicap? He says, I'm an 8.5. I said, okay. So, I'm listening to this guy, and he's, I got to do this, and I got to do that, and this, that. And I'm like, all right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to hit me a series of 8 shots with your 6-iron. Well, we're going to start right there, and let's kind of get let me get all my references where I want to go with this. So this guy's path varied from minus 0.6 to 3.2 minus.
Okay.
So not bad.
Mm-mm.
Not bad. And he says to me, and he's manageable. You can manage an out to in 3 path with the right space. But he says to me, well, I want to hit a draw. Because that, he started out with it goes further. I go, then why are all the long guys on tour hitting fades? No, an incorrect fade will. So I said to him, how often do you practice? He's like, well, like I play twice a week. So before I go, no, I didn't say warm up. I said practice. He's like, well, not at all. I said, okay, so here's the deal. We got 2 options here. I'm building a house. We doing a remodel or we doing a complete knockdown rebuild? Which one's going to take longer? It's like, well, obviously the knockdown rebuild. Yeah. Are you willing to go through that? Because to rebuild a house now, you're looking at 1.5 years. We got to remodel this inside. We're looking at, a couple months and we're done.
Yeah.
So I gave him the option and I said, listen, he said, well, what's going to be the advantage if I hit the inside of the ball? I said, nothing, because you're not going to be a tour player. I said, it's not going to do anything. I said, and the fact that this guy's hitting his 6-iron, I think he was flying at like 173, 175, flying it. Like, dude, I mean,
yeah.
So
no. Yeah. I mean, and again, like giving them the option to me, see, like the thing I geek out or I get interested listening to great teachers and people that I know that are great teachers is like the whole process you went through where you explained to them their options, right? Like, I don't know that enough players sit and listen to that or teachers do that. Like, hey, like, and I can't say I always do, because I know sometimes I just skip shit or whatever. But I sit there and I go, okay, well, here's where you are. And I mean, now, if you want to change that, are you changing it just because you don't like the look of it, or are you changing it because it really affects where the ball's going or how you play? And if you want to change it, here's the steps you got to go to, and here's the amount of time it's going to take. Like, I mean, I think that's a great point. Like, that the player needs to understand, like, what their options are, right? I mean, and I don't know that enough people, when they're getting into a program and they're learning, like, really take the time to understand all the options and the variables that are out there that could help them get better. Because sometimes there's easier ways than some of the rebuilds or some of the things that they're trying to do.
Yeah, because you got to remember, these people are coming to us and they don't know. They don't know what it takes. And they don't know what they're doing. Their awareness is not, it gets lost in, well, if I do this, I'll achieve that. So it's our job to explain to them and help them and guide them. I mean, that's what we're doing. As coaches, not just instructors, we're guiding them on a journey. So
correct.
I think it's so important to get in the position to explain the options before you ever get started, because it does a lot of things. First of all, they don't waste their time. Secondly, I tell the younger instructors, because I'm a routine guy. Everything's a routine with me. That's just me and my everyday life. So that's why I go through the same setup with every client. But I said, listen, it protects you, because the last thing you want to do is take somebody down the wrong path, and all of a sudden, because it's going to be your fault. It's never going to be their fault.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Right. It was, well, I tried this and so screwed me up. It's like, and it's funny, Tony, because here's what I did. He fought me a little bit on it. I got to be honest with you. So I said, all right. So I said, I said, all right, so here, let's do this. He goes, well, what do you think I should do? I said, all right, so let's start here. Let's start with your arm position at address. I need the handle a little higher. I need it a little bit further out. And he's like, okay, so why is that? I said, because you're crowding it too much and you got to back up and away. Plus, at address, you're sinking to your heels to create space. So I said, okay, so how does that feel? So I get him in there. I go, how does that feel? He's like, it's wow, I'm really reaching for it. I said, look. He's like, no, I mean, it looks good, but I go, okay, now hit a ball. I mean, he hit this thing like shit. It went sideways. And he's like, I go, how was it? He goes, that was awful. I go, would you say the worst shot you've hit so far? He goes, oh, yeah, did you see? I said, no, I saw it. I don't want to relive it again, but go ahead and hit me another one. So I get him up there. How is that? He goes, awful. I said, yeah, one more. He hits it like shit. So I finally go, what do you think just happened right there? And he's like, well, I don't, he's like, I said, when you make a change, okay, the first thing that's going to happen is, and I explained to him what proprioception was, being able to close your eyes and be able to touch your nose and your ear without seeing it. And I said, if I removed your nose and I put it somewhere on your body, and then I didn't tell you where it was, you're going to spend a lot of time going through your whole body till you find it. I said, so you lose proprioception, you lose the ability to, your spatial awareness goes sideways. So you got to refine the golf ball. Now, the only way to do that is going to be to obviously practice correctly, but get the reps in because it's a change.
Yeah.
So do you want to go through that? He's like, no. I said, all right, then go back and let's manage what we got.
Well, the other thing too is like you were talking about proprioception and all that, and I'm big on, and I'd love your thoughts. A big part of what I do, I know you knew this, but like when I'm doing these podcasts is I like to learn from the people that, that come on. And like I've become big on making people do things like when they say, no, I want to get better and I want to fix this. And, I'm making them do it slow, like crazy slow, even without a ball. And, and making them do it slow to learn it. And it's amazing. Like, it's hard for them to do. It's amazing how people don't know what slow is.
No, that's what I mean once again. And, anything that you would learn, if you were teaching me anything and you were trying to learn something and I wasn't getting it, you'd make me go at a slower pace. And
right.
That's what I tell these people. I'm like, you got any kids? Well, yeah, I got a son. How old is he? 23. I said, okay, so when he was 2, did you just rifle the ball at him at 90 miles an hour, or did you just kind of toss it? I mean, and the other thing, Tony, that I do a lot too with that is because, you go, okay, I want you to slow it down. They don't really know what that means. So I'm like, okay, so I will slow it down. They got to make a full swing, but only hit it a specific distance. And then the other thing that I get a lot of times.
That's great.
I do, yeah, because then they go, okay, I slowed it down. I go, I asked you to hit it 100. You flew it 163. That's 63 yards too far. Or they'll come to me and they'll go, man, I don't know what it is. I can do it perfect in my practice swing. Mm-hmm. And then you put a ball there and I can't do it. I go, so what's the difference? Like the ball? I go, all right, so make a practice swing. And I'll do the practice swing. I go, okay, so now I hit the ball. I go, all right, now I'll compare them and I'll do the timing of how long it took them to swing. And I go, what's the difference here? When you measure the speed of how long, so if you're measuring the tempo of somebody's swing, mm-hmm. And it's weird how they start to, that gives them more of, instead of me just going, go a little slower, it gives them something more mentally to grasp on how slow. So I said, let's match, you're saying you're not doing it in your practice swing, and I got the evidence that you're not doing it. You're not coming as far over the top. You're not doing this. So let's match the practice. Let's do what you say you're doing. But if you don't have something to go off of, do I need to speed my backswing up more or slow my downswing down? It just gives them a better perspective of where they need to go. So I try to get them, after I time their practice swing, when they get the motion, to do it in a full swing. And it's crazy because it improves much faster, and they really don't lose that much distance.
Mm-hmm. That goes along with, we had Justin Parsons, Wayne Flint, and myself, and Jack, we have this golf coach development page, and we do a Zoom call, and we put the recordings out as the part of the podcast. But we had Butch on last month. I think it was last month. And he's talked about how he likes to film people's practice swings. Right. Mm-hmm. I've been out there and watched him do it. And he's like, it's amazing how when there's no ball and you have them go at a reasonable speed and you film it and show it to them, like, okay, so you can do this, like it's pretty amazing when you slow people down like you did there and you get them to do stuff, how they can do it.
Yeah, and that's what I told them. I said, listen, that doesn't mean – because they get all freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, the ball didn't go that far. And we're not staying here. Yeah. Because I said, look, I'm looking at – you're going to hit a speed. I said, if we're driving a race car and I'm teaching you to drive this thing at 200 miles an hour around the track, and you go at 50 and you're good, and 60 and 70, and you start breaking down at 80, we're going to hang at 80.
Right.
But once you get 80, we're going to go to 90. And once you get 90, we're going to keep going faster and faster. But if you go from 50 to 200, you're wrecking.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to get that thing around the track. So it's helping them just have an awareness to make the change. One, to put in the time and effort, but two, to practice correctly. I mean, most people are just, wasting their time when they go practice.
No question. I mean, half of what I do is, regardless of skill level, helping people just understand how to, the 20 balls they're going to go hit, how to structure it so they get something out of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's amazing how just helping a player understand that, even if they're a 15, 18 handicapper, and tell just every time you go hit 10 balls doing this for me, and they'll go, okay, I'll do it. I mean, I think most people, when they come to us, if you give them something simple and easy they could do with 10 balls, they'll at least try it.
Oh, hell yeah.
But if you tell them, I need you to hit 200 balls a day and I need you to go do this, zero chance.
No. Mm-mm. And then they go, well, so-and-so on TV, I watched him. And I'm like, yeah, listen, dude, you can make anything work if you hit 1,000 balls a day if you want to do that.
Well, and you can time it, right? Like, that's what I don't think people get is, like, if they've hit 107 irons in a row, especially off a mat, I mean, at some point they're going to figure out how to time it out if they've got any athletic ability.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Maliz, you're the best. Man, this is fun. We got to do this. You know what? Next time we do this, I think we're going to do it live.
Yeah.
You'd be a great live candidate. You're the best. Hey, I appreciate you taking time. I know how busy you are during season. I appreciate all the help and the support, and look forward to hanging out some more down there in Palm Beach, and we'll have some fun.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me, man. That's great.
Appreciate you, buddy. That's Mike Milazia. Everybody look him up. He's one of the best. We'll be back next week on The Tour Coach. I hope you enjoyed this edition of The Tour Coach and this conversation that we brought to you about playing, learning, and teaching the game of golf. We'll be back next week with another edition of The Tour Coach. In between now and next week, make sure you follow us on our social channels. You can always find me at The Dew Sweeper on Instagram, or go to our YouTube page where you'll see a scene and a video from my teachings daily on our YouTube channel. You can find that by looking up Tony Ruggiero and the Dew Sweepers on YouTube. Until then, make sure you follow and check out Everything Tour Coach and all our sponsors, Srixon Cleveland Golf, Bushnell, Vineyard Vines, and Buick GMC. I'll be back next week to help all of us appreciate, learn, and enjoy the game of golf. I want to remind everybody something that I forgot. Recently, a couple weeks ago, my wife and I went out. We went to a wedding, and afterwards with some friends, we were like, hey, where's a great place to go? I'll be honest, like in my travels and day-to-day, sometimes I get caught up and I forget some of the great places right around the corner. But I got to remind you about the Icebox Bar on 755 Monroe Street. I know with Mardi Gras and all that stuff, it's going to be packed. But I was blown away by just the whole vibe, the atmosphere, and with the Velvet Pig, the food in the back room, and the big screen TVs up front. I was blown away by the atmosphere, the vibe, and just how cool it was to have the Icebox Bar right here near Dew Sweepers downtown. So look, when you're out Mardi Gras or you're looking for a great place to go sit, watch some games, hang out, play some pool, you got to go to the Icebox Bar right there on Monroe Street. There's a good chance you'll see all of us hanging out, especially during Mardi Gras. But do yourself a favor, go visit the Icebox. It's one of the best places out there. Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero. And look, recently, several teachers I know and several players have had some scares with skin cancer. In fact, I recently went and saw a dermatologist here in town, and I had a couple things frozen off, eyelid, my face, my earlobe, and not getting any younger. And I know it's getting to that time of the season where it's cooler, but look, being in the sun is a real deal, and I've not been very good, to be totally honest, my whole career at using it at all because I didn't like how greasy it was, how hard it was to get off your hands, how it clogged up my pores. And then I found this sunscreen, Visor Skincare. It's clear. It goes on. It doesn't dry you out. It isn't greasy. It's like you didn't put anything on it. By far, it's the best sunscreen I've ever used. Without a doubt, is the easiest to use. And we've got a discount code for all of you. All you have to do is go to visorskincare.com. Use our code word DewSweeper. visorskincare.com, code word DewSweeper.